Hey everybody, it's Chris with Out West with Chris. I am doing a little camping today. I got my tent set up. This is a new tent for me. The Coleman Montana 8P. It's an 8-person tent. The Coleman Montana 8-person tent. Let's take a look inside this tent. So the tent is 16 feet by 7 feet. My cot is huge, but you can tell that it would be somewhat difficult to fit two of these side by side. The literature that comes with the tent says that you can fit 3 queen air beds. They would have to be 1, 2, 3, and there wouldn't be a whole lot of room to walk. It is 6'2", but only right in the middle. So you can stand in it, but just right in the middle. And if you're hanging something like my little luminoodle lantern, it can be kind of a pain. So without that there, you can move around, but it's only just in this center area. The rest of the tent, you feel like you have to stoop. Like, if I'm gonna go over here by this window, I gotta crouch down quite a bit. You have basically 3 windows. You have a window on each end, and then a door window. When you zip down the windows, they can fold up and they store with this little guy right here. When your fly isn't on, all of this is mesh. So that's cool. If you're not gonna use your fly, you can have some nice views of the night sky as you're laying down. Pretty neat. This door is kind of a hinged door, but it doesn't seem to work like ones that I've encountered in the past. And I don't think I put it together wrong. I don't know if something is wrong with mine, but typically these things will shut, and they'll shut all the way, and then the Velcro will engage and kind of lock the door. Sorry for my bad camera work. I took the rain fly off of the tent, and it looks like the door works like it's supposed to. So you open it, and it closes on its own, which is what I was expecting this entire time. Open, close. And I'm thinking that the reason why it wasn't is because I probably set up the rain fly wrong. So that's my fault. You have 2 mesh storage pouches. One's over here. Then you have one over here as well. There is a little portal area. And what this is for an electrical cord. So if you want to run some sort of, if you have a generator, you want to run some sort of electrical outlet in here and run some type of appliance, you can use this so that you don't have to run it through your door and trip over it and stuff. You also have a grommet right here, which you can hang things from. Now these grommets, you know, you don't want to hang anything that's going to conduct heat, because they will melt. But hanging the luminoodle from here worked out well. So like an electrical LED lantern, something like that, you can hang from here for a light source. And you do have a tubbed floor, which is nice. I'm a big fan of tubbed floors. You have the floor material, and it goes up the side of the tent. It goes up about 4 inches here. So reinforced flooring material at some of the areas where you have your stakes. You have it in the corners. The craftsmanship seems fine, so I don't see any issues with the stitching as it came packaged. It looks all like it's done fairly well. Let's take a look on the outside of the tent, if I can figure out how to get it open. When you have your rain fly on, you do have an awning area. So the rain fly has this rigid pole that runs through it to help create the awning. And that's nice to keep the area outside at least kind of dry. I should have brought a doormat, but didn't think of that. One other small feature that I thought was pretty cool was that the door pull tabs have a reflective white fabric or material in them, so that they're really easy to see. If you've got a headlamp on and you're, you know, going at night back into your tent, you can see it really easily. As far as the exterior features, this is supposed to be a negatively angled window, so that when you have the rain fly on, If it's raining, you're supposed to be able to have your windows open during the rain and not get water inside. I'm a little skeptical if that would work, especially if the rain was driving from any direction. I would think that you would need to keep your windows zipped up to keep dry. With one person, the rain fly was kind of a pain to put on. I think if I camp in it again and it's not raining, I'll probably just keep the rain fly off. It was kind of nice to have for some shade, and then also it serves the purpose of, if you're heating inside the tent, helps trap some of the heat in so it doesn't just, raise right out of the mesh. I did do a little bit of heating, not much, because it wasn't too cold. My sleeping bag did a fine job. So overall, my thoughts on this tent are that it's a fine family camping tent, especially if you're not, using it really heavily. I got this on sale through Amazon Prime Days. It was like $95. And that's one of the main reasons I got it, because that's a great price for, this size of a Coleman tent. I'm satisfied with the purchase. So on this trip, I didn't experience much weather. There wasn't any moisture, no rain or anything like that. But it did get pretty windy a few times, and the tent did fine. It did fantastic. The rain fly stayed in place. There was a little bit of rocking and rolling when the wind would pick up, but it did what it needed to do. Nothing snapped or broke. The rain fly didn't tear off. It's a fine tent. For the price, it's not really unreasonable. I do have kind of some drawbacks, so let me go over some things that I like about it. Setup wasn't that bad. It took me one person alone about 30 minutes to get everything on. The majority of that time was actually dealing with the rain fly, just because it's doable with one person, but it takes longer. It was pretty self-explanatory where everything went. The instructions were clear. I think that I could probably set this up in probably 20 minutes by myself on my next go round, now that I've done it once. So that's a plus. The other plus is that you can stand up in the tent. I am a big advocate of tents that you could stand up in, especially when you're car camping with a family. It just beats, bending over and stooping the whole time. I also like the windows, the layout of the windows, and the mesh ceilings. I kind of regret putting the rain fly on. I didn't really need it this trip, but I put it on, didn't really want to take it off. So that's nice. The other nice thing is this awning over the entryway. That's a nice touch, but that does require the rain fly. One of the drawbacks for me is that the tent, even though it's spacious, there's a lot of space in there. The layout of the space it's kind of weird. If you had mattresses, that would be one thing. You could put a mattress for, you and your spouse or whatever on one side, and then mattress for your kids on the other side, and that would work out pretty well. If you're using a cot that has, any length to it, you're not going to be able to fit them in very well. It just seems like the layout for a cot would be kind of difficult. Like I said before, my cot is huge, so it might not be the best example, but in my Kodiak canvas tent, I can fit my cot sideways and have a ton of space. The 7-foot depth of the tent is a drawback to me. Another drawback is you do get 2 storage pouches, but those storage pouches, they're very simple, simplistic pouches. There's not really much in the means of organization within the pouches themselves, and I think they could have done a little bit better job. So all in all, I think that this is a good tent for family camping. If you can figure out how to organize everything on the inside, it should work fine for you for car camping. I can see a family of 4 fitting in here really easily, having a space to store their gear as well, their clothes and that type of stuff. So it's not a bad tent by any means. I think it's a good value, good 2-season tent. I wouldn't count on it during any really heavy rains or really driving winds or snow, but for late spring, summer, early fall, this tent will do great for you. Depending where you're at in the world, that could be a different story. It could be a great year-round tent for you too. As far as I go, this is going to be a good backup tent for me. If I don't want to lug around my 120-pound Kodiak canvas tent, or I don't want to take my tent trailer, or I don't want to use a tiny little tent, this would be a good tent for me. I also can see it being used, if I go on a group camping trip and somebody needs a tent, I'll have a good backup tent. I'm not planning on using a lot, so it should last a long time, and I'm glad I got it for the $95 that it was on Prime Day. I think that was a steal, actually. Really good bargain. I'll probably use this one more time this summer, and I will do a setup video when I do that. I didn't feel it was fair to do a setup video on my first time setting it up, just because, you know, that's not realistic. Stay tuned for that. If you found this review helpful, please go ahead and click the like button and subscribe. If you have any questions about this tent, let me know in the comments below. I'm not an expert on this tent. I've only camped in it for a few nights, but I think I could probably help you out. To close things out, I just gotta say thanks for getting out west with Chris.